This is Science 2034. 20 years ago, the Science Coalition was formed to strengthen federal support for basic scientific and engineering research. We tell the stories of what federally funded research has made possible and what will be reality 20 years from now. Our guest today, Congressman Derek Kilmer from the state of Washington.
Well, I think science matters for a couple key reasons. One, science drives innovation and discovery. And there's so many ways in which that matters. It matters in the medical arena, where scientific discovery can help mitigate symptoms, it can help cure diseases. And that matters to every person I represent who's lost a loved one to cancer or who's grappling with diabetes or any other illness. You know, it matters in terms of environmental innovation. You know, we are only as safe as the air we breathe and the water we drink and the earth we pass on to the next generation. And so the scientific discovery that we have in the environmental arena is really, really going to matter. It matters to the 3 coastal tribes that I represent who are literally in the process of trying to move to higher ground because they're seeing the very real impacts of climate change. They depend on scientific discovery to try to address that challenge. You know, it matters to the shellfish growers and the folks who work in the fisheries in the region I represent who are dealing with the day-to-day impacts of changes in ocean chemistry, of ocean acidification. And so science matters to them. You know, and scientific discovery and innovation is going to matter to them in that regard. The best example is look at the cell phone in your pocket, right? I mean, everything from the battery that powers it to the touch screen on it to the GPS system and search engine in that cell phone was all funded by the exact same venture capitalist, Uncle Sam. And the fact is, when the federal government puts investment into, and when we all as taxpayers invest in basic research, it drives innovation that ends up in technologies that we use every single day. Science matters for our economy too. I used to work in economic development, and we had a sign up on our wall that said, "We are competing with everyone, everywhere, every day, forever." You know, and if you look at what other nations are doing, they are doubling down in scientific investment. And so when we're making investments in science, when we're making investments in science education, we are also making investments in our economic future. We've got some very significant challenges as a nation and as a world. We've got medical challenges. And if we make investments in basic research, if we make investments in national research, I think we can actually cure diseases and address some of those extraordinary medical challenges, frankly, that drive a tremendous amount of cost to our government and to our society at large, and certainly not just loss of money, but loss of human life. If we're smart and we make investments in national research, I think we can conquer extraordinary environmental challenges. And this is, you know, this is a big deal. We stand at the, you know, my governor, I think, put it very well. He said, we are the first generation to feel the impacts of climate change and the last generation that can do something about it. And if we make investments in research oriented towards trying to address some of these extraordinary environmental challenges, I think we can stem those. We can stem the impacts of ocean acidification. We can stem the impacts of climate change. But it means actually making investments in science and making investments in research. You know, I think we can come up with tremendous new technologies that will make our society more productive, will open the door to a whole lot of new jobs. And I'm excited for us to do that.